Hi guys, today I'm going to be trying on one of the MAC holiday kits that I picked up. This is a huge release by MAC. There are a lot of different holiday products. I picked up 3 different ones. I picked up 2 eyeshadow palettes, the 6-pan eyeshadow palettes, and one of them I've already done a video on, and this is the packaging of it. This is the Colour Story Regal Rose. Now this one really surprised me. It's absolutely gorgeous, especially these 2 shades here. Really beautiful. So if you want to take a look at that, I'll put the link up here. I also picked up one more of these eyeshadow palettes, and I think it's called the Best Sellers or something like that. The shades that already exist within MAC, but they've put just a few of their favorites together in one palette. And then I also picked up this kit because even though there's only 2 eyeshadows in here, I thought they looked really beautiful. There is the brown and the copper, and they both have a little bit of gold in them. There's also a MAC paint pot in here, and I use the MAC paint pot every single day before putting on eyeshadow. I have oily skin, oily eyelids, and I just find this is a really good primer for me. The colour that I have and that I use at the moment, that's the one, and I think it's called Ochre. The one in here is called Painterly, but I think this should go quite well with my skin tone as well. So I will use this one today. So these 2 items I'll be using, and I'll also be using the mascara, not the one that comes in this kit because I already have the mascara and I really like it. It's a great mascara. You can layer it, it adds volume. It doesn't flake or transfer throughout the day. So I will be using the one that I already have, and this will be really good to have as a backup. Now this kit is for sale for 129 Australian dollars. It's not on the MAC USA website. It could be there at a later date, but I have found it on the Nordstrom website, and I was just having a look earlier. So I'm just going to double check the price of what it is in US dollars. And on the Nordstrom website, it is listed at $49. So I think this is a really great value pack. I think the packaging's really lovely as well. And if it doesn't appeal to you personally, I think this is also a really good gift idea. So you just push up through here, and inside is the box with the items contained, and this is the outside of the box. It is really lovely packaging. And then inside you have this really cute little makeup case, and this is called the Bubbles and Bow Collection, this holiday release. So on this case you have the bubbles, and also here on the zip tab you also have these plastic little bubbles as well. It's really cute. This does feel quite robust, and the lining inside here is fabric. And then inside are the 3 items. So there's the mascara that I mentioned, and I'll be putting that in my backup drawer. Then there is the MAC paint pot in Painterly, which I will use today and try that out. And finally we have the Little Duo eyeshadows, and I think these colours are really lovely. So here is the outside of the packaging, and it just lifts up. These are described as metallic shades, and the 2 shades are called, one of them is This Rounds on Me, and the other one is called Feeling Toasty. Now this eyeshadow is made in Italy, and on the back of the box they say where the other items are made. So the other 2 items, the paint pot and also the mascara, they're both made in Canada. I've already got my foundation on as well as concealer under my eyes. I've got bronzer on, I've powdered my face, and I've also done my eyebrows. Everything that I'm putting on my face today I will have in the description box below, and they will be linked. Now normally when I'm doing an eyeshadow video I've already got my eyeshadow primer on, but I want to give this shade a go. This is the one Painterly, and normally with this primer I either just use my finger or I use a brush, and the brush that I normally use if I'm going to use a brush, it's a Sonia G1, and this is called the Jumbo Concealer. So I will use the brush today, and I don't put much on at all. I just put a really thin layer, but I just find it's a great primer for my oily skin. It just helps stop that oil breaking through and just helps eyeshadow last that little bit longer. So this shade is a bit lighter than the other one that I have, but I think it works and I think it looks really good. So I will be using this one. The other one is actually quite old. It could be getting up to about 2 years old or somewhere around there. So it's probably about time that I threw that one out and I'll use this as the replacement. So I'm just going to swatch these two shades on the back of my hand so you can take a look at them. So this is the shade called Feelin' Toasty and it's described as brown with gold pearl. And this shade is called This Round's on Me and it's described as champagne with gold pearl. Now, they both swatch really, really beautifully. They're quite pigmented and I think they're going to look really gorgeous on the eye. So even though there's only 2 eyeshadows in this really cute little palette, I am going to attempt to do 3 different eye looks. So first of all, I'll do a look on each eye and then for the third and final look, I'll do it on both eyes. So for the first eye look, I'm going to concentrate more on just using this shade here. People often talk about a one and done. So let's see what we can do with mainly this eyeshadow and maybe adding a little bit of definition with this one. So this is the Sonia G. This is the Classic Crease. And I'm just going to put this all over my lid. Now I may reach for another brush as well, just so I can get some more pigment or try it with a more dense brush to see if I can get the more pigment, but using the same shade. These are blending really well. I thought they would. The MAC shadows are usually fairly dependable and I always think they look really lovely too. So then I'm going to take the Sonia G, the soft concealer, and with this same shade, I am going to run this on my lower lash line and I will be adding some of the darker shadow over the top of this as well. And I'm also going to use the darker shadow to give some definition to my upper lash line. But really, just by itself, I think this shadow is really beautiful. This is something that I would wear, I mean, even in the evening, it's really beautiful because it's got this really beautiful sparkle to it as well, since it's a metallic. And although it's really simple with just the one shadow, I think it looks really lovely. And once I put the darker shadow on as well, just some under here and a little bit through the upper lash line, I think it's going to look really beautiful. And I also think that you get quite a lot of payoff considering that the Classic Crease is quite a fluffy brush. So just on my lid, I'm just going to see if I can get even more payoff. First of all, I'm just going to try a more dense brush. I'm going to take the Sonia G. This is the Builder Pro. So just staying with this shade. And I'm just going to tap it in and then just slowly tap it over the lid. And you do get just a little bit more payoff. So now I'm going to take the soft shader again and now I'm going to go into this darker shade and I'm going to put some of this on my lower lash line as well. I do really like this brush. I think it diffuses shadow under your eye really, really beautifully. And I don't want to go too dark through here since I'm mainly focusing on this shade here or this colour. So I'm just going to take the pencil one, just going back into this darker shade. And I just want to add a little bit more depth just on the very outer corner. And then as I take it across, I just sort of ease the pressure on my brush as well because I don't want that harsh dark line all the way across. And then finally I'm just going to use the darker shade just to line my upper lash line and just put a little bit of definition through here. So before I put mascara on, I'll do the other eye first. So again, I'm going to take the Sonia G, it's the Classic Crease. And again, I'm going to start off with the shade and put this all over my lid, but I'm going to use more of the darker shade this time, but I just want to put a layer of this on first. So now I'm going to take the Rapha number 14 and go into the darker shade, and I'm going to make more of this shade on this eye. I'm going to take it in the outer corner. So it's fairly pigmented, this shade. It's really beautiful, and both together they are just gorgeous. So I'm going to put most of it on the outer corner, and I'm just going to take a little bit of the excess just through here. And I will also take this darker shade also above the crease as well. And then I'm going to take the Sonia G, the soft shader, and just keep with this darker shade here. And I'm going to run this under my lower lash line. I'll probably use a more dense brush to add some more pigment through here, but I just want to start off and just see how this looks. Then I'm going to take the Sonia G, this is the crease one, and I just want to go back into the shade. And even though this is a crease brush, this is often what I use this brush for, and this is to put shadow up through here. It's quite a soft brush. It helps you pinpoint where the shadow is, but it's also soft enough that it actually blends as well. I find this brush really, really good, and I use it a lot, as I was saying, especially up through here. And then just staying with the same shade, same brush, I just want to put a little bit more of this shade just through here. Then I'm going to go back to the pencil one, go back into the dark shade and put some more pigment just in the very outer corner. And then same brush, same shade. Going to add more to the lower lash line as well. I'm going to take that Rapha 3 and go into the lighter shade. And just put some in a corner. And then I've just wiped down the Sonia G, the classic crease. And I just want to use this brush with this lighter shade. I'm only going in very lightly. And I just want to take this shade just over the top here, just to soften it out a little bit. And then I'm going to get my SUQQU brush, this one that's really soft. It's got nothing on it. This is actually clean. And I'll just go over all through here just to diffuse all the shadow and just to soften it out. And then I'm going to use the darker shadow to again give definition to my upper lash line. But this time I'm going to put some powder on the brush. I'm really digging in here. And I'm going to grab the Charlotte Tilbury, the setting spray, and I'm going to wet the powder. So here is look number 1. And here is look number 2. I think both are really lovely. This is a lot more simple, really just a one and done shade, using the darker shade just to give a little bit of definition. But it is really beautiful. And even though it's metallic, I do find that it doesn't seem to emphasize the texture too much on my eyelids. I think this is really lovely. I think this, well, actually both of them are beautiful and I would wear during the day, but also really gorgeous for evening as well. And although I didn't do it with the lighter eyeshadow for both of these eye looks, I think you could get even more out of it by even using your finger or wetting the brush. So I might do that with my third and final look when I'm just using that lighter shade. And this eye look with the darker shade and a little bit of the other one through just looks really gorgeous. This is more of the look that I do, the darker on the outside and swept up and put some lighter in through the inner corner. I also, when I did definition in my upper lash line using the darker shade, I also used that brush and just went through on my lower lash line as well, just to give it that extra definition. But I think that both looks look really, really lovely. So now I'm going to wash this off and then I'll be back and we'll do the third and final look. So again, I'm going to take the Sonia G, the Classic Crease, and I'm going to start off with the lighter shade. And for this look, I'm doing both eyes. So I'm going to take that all over the lid and just take it above as well. These are blending really beautifully. I've got no issues with them whatsoever. I'm going to take the Refa number 12 and now go into the darker shade. I just want to be a little bit more controlled where the shadow goes. So if I stamp it just on here to begin with. So I'm going to put the darker shade outer corner. I'm also going to put some in the inner corner, and then I'm going to go over in the middle with the lighter shade. Now I'll probably wet the brush just so I get a little bit more payoff when I use that shade, but I just want to just stamp it in here initially. I will blend it up here just above the crease with another brush, but this just helps to place the pigment and just stop it from going all over the lid. And I also want to put some of the darker shade through here. So for that, I'm going to grab the Crease 1 brush to do this. It seems that I use this brush for everything but the crease, but it's really good for pinpointing shadow if that's what you want to do for your eye look. I'm going to take the Refa 14 and just start to blend this out. If I need to pick up a little bit more shadow, I will, because I want to start blending the shade through the crease and slightly above as well. Now at this stage I haven't put any shadow on this brush. All I've done is wiped it down. I'm just using the shadow that I initially packed down, and it does seem to be blending up. I may need a little bit more. And with the Refa 14, I am going to add a touch more pigment just up through here. So I've just very slightly tapped it into the shadow, and I'll just start in the crease and just blend that out. But you can see how well these shadows blend. I mean, yes, these are really good brushes that I'm using, but even with the odd shadow that I've purchased, if the formula is no good, then even if you're using a really good brush, they can go quite patchy and can be a little bit difficult to blend. But these shadows are just blending really, really beautifully. And then I'm just going to use the Refa number 3 and just add a little bit more in the outer corner. Then I'm going to take the Sonia G, the Builder Pro, go into this shade, and I'm going to add some more pigment right in the middle. And I may also wet this brush as well, just to see if I can get some more payoff. So this is the Sonia G, this is the flat definer, and I have wet the shadow this time, and it's just a little bit smaller, this brush, just so it can be a little bit more precise. And you do get some more payoff. I just find this brush really good too. It's small and it's dense, and it's quite good just for pinpointing shadow on, just so you don't go over the whole lid, especially with something like this. I will add some more dark eyeshadow if I think that this lighter shade has taken over the darker shade, but just do this first and see how it looks. Then I'm going to define my upper lash line. Again, I have wet this brush, and I'll probably put just a slightly, just a thicker line through here. I'll also push it into my lashes as well, but I just want to draw just a slightly thicker line just through here. And then using the same brush, and I've wet it again, I'm just going to just put some of the shadow just push it into my lower lashes as well, just to give a little bit of extra definition without having to use an eyeliner. So for blush, I'm going to use a SUQQU one. This is from their permanent range. This is the melting powder blush. These SUQQU blushes are just absolutely gorgeous. And I won't try and pronounce the name, but the number of this blush is 09. It's a really, really beautiful blush. And as usual, I'm just using my SUQQU brush. And I should know the numbers off by heart now of these brushes, but I don't. This is F03. And this blush is just absolutely beautiful. It blends beautifully, and the colour of this one is just gorgeous. It looks a lot better on than it does in the pan, so I'll show you what it looks like in the pan. And it sort of looks quite plain, as if you wouldn't get much of a payoff from it, but it's a beautiful neutral blush. It has a little bit of sheen to it. It's just really, really gorgeous. And for the lipstick, I'm going to use a Chanel one. It's from the Coco Flash range, and this is in the shade Boy, so this is just a nude lipstick. So this is eye look number 3, and I think this eye look is really beautiful. Out of just 2 quite simple shades, you can get some really beautiful looks with it. I don't have a favourite look. I think they're all really gorgeous. The first one just mainly using this shade here, a simple one and done, and then the darker shade to give a little bit of definition to the lash line. I think that is really beautiful and really simple. The second eye look is the one that I usually do in my videos. Have a darker shade in the outer corner, blend it up, and have the lighter shade through here. And I thought this looked really lovely with that. And I don't do this eye look very often, but when I do it, I really love it. I think it's really beautiful. And I also love it with these shades that you can use them wet. And when I showed it to you in the video, I put the shadow on the brush and then I sprayed the brush. But I also used it just by spraying the brush and then dipping it into the shadows. And it doesn't look like it's affected them at all. It doesn't look like they've gone hard pan or anything like that. I think from memory on the MAC website it does say you can use them wet or dry anyway, and you definitely get more payoff when you wet your brush, and especially with a brush that is a little bit more dense. And these blended beautifully. I mentioned it a few times throughout the video when I was putting my eyeshadow on, but they really do. They're effortless, and I find you can get a really beautiful gradient using these shadows as well. And for me, I find that a really good sign of an eyeshadow is when you can go darker, and if you just want to use the same shadow that you've put on and then just use it to get a lighter shade of that colour up here using a fluffier brush, and you get that really gorgeous gradient. I think that's a really good sign of a shadow. So I think this kit is really lovely, and I'm pleased with the new paint pot that I've got in a different shade, that one Painterly. I think that works perfect. So I will be throwing my other paint pot out because that's now, as I said, it's nearly about 2 years old. So I will throw that out and I'll be using the shade from now on. I think it works fine with my skin tone, and the mascara is really beautiful too. It layers beautifully. It's called the MAC Stack, so you're supposed to layer it, and I do love layering a mascara. It just gives that extra volume, and as I said at the beginning of the video, with that mascara I don't find that it transfers throughout the day, and I don't find that it flakes either. I think when I first tried this mascara it was in autumn, and now we're in spring, so the weather is just that little bit warmer, and I have been using this mascara and I still found that it hasn't transferred with my oily lids. It just wears really, really beautifully. So I think that this is a great little kit from MAC, whether you want to buy it for yourself, and I also think it would make a really fantastic gift for the upcoming holidays. Really beautiful shadows, great quality mascara, and for me the MAC Paint Pot is definitely my go-to for every day, just to keep my eyeshadows in place with my oily skin. It's really, really gorgeous. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.